Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning to you, sir. If first of all you could introduce yourself, tell us who you are, which organisation you work for, what you do, and then I'm going to, start quizzing and probing in the appropriate way around what you've been doing at your wonderful council. So, if you'd like to introduce yourself first of all, that'd be great.
Yeah, morning everybody. I'm Lee Gallagher. I'm the Customer Services and Digital Transformation Manager at Hertsmere Borough Council. Hertsmere Borough Council, for those that don't know, is based in Hertfordshire. We're one of 10 districts in Hertfordshire, and we've got Hertfordshire County Council in our area. And I look after our customer service team, parts of the website. Similar to lots of you have said this morning, we haven't got a waste system. We never have in the last 15 years that I've been here. But we're on our low code journey at the moment. So we went out to procurement and selected Netcall. And we've started to roll out our processes, and we've got a roadmap to roll out some more. But I won't spoil too many of Nick's questions, I'm sure, by giving too much away at this point.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Lee. Yes, that's very kind of you, because I guess the first question that I wanted to ask you was, what was, and this is sort of technology aside, what was the the technology we're focusing today? What was the actual catalyst for the organisation to actually change, to start transforming and digitally evolving?
Well, we had a very old CRM system. It was about 15 years old. It didn't, for the supplier, it was an end of life product. It wasn't going to be developed anymore, and we wanted to buy a system where we could develop it ourselves, make it how we want it to be able to make changes without having to go back to the supplier every time and charging us through the nose. We wanted something that we could have an online account for customers to be able to log, track, get progress updates, text messages to say, text or email to say, this is where we're at with your inquiry. In our area, we've got a younger demographic, so we've got more and more people interacting with us online, and obviously that's a lot more cheaper, more efficient way for us to provide the service. So that's why we went with the low code option.
Right. Okay. So I was going to say, actually, you've obviously sort of the catalyst for change you've identified as, you've got an old system. You're not, I guess, digitally prepared for the next set of citizens, etc. But I guess, could you go into a bit more detail as to why low code? Why have a low code strategy?
So we went out to we went out to the market and we looked what else was out there, and we looked at really all the big players in this space, but we felt low code was the way for us because it gave us the flexibility we wanted to do things the way we wanted to do them, because we don't have a waste system like a Whitespace or a Bartech or a whatever else is out there. We wanted something that would give us end-to-end delivery. So we've gone from a really paper-based system to a fully electronic, agile mist bin process that now doesn't involve any paper at all. So I can talk a little bit more about that if people want or would like to. We wanted somewhere where somebody could have a single user account where they could access a range of services, not just waste, We in our roadmap we are looking at other services to bring in, which I'll come on to a little bit later. We wanted to add functionality to the existing processes to streamline them and involve other departments as well, because although we're talking about waste, often waste crosses over into other territory, like fly tipping might involve your environmental health team because there might be evidence involved. So for us, we wanted a platform that would give us that flexibility to work across different services as well as just waste. And actually, Netcall was the only supplier when we went to the market that could demonstrate a single sign-on to our council tax and benefit system that was already available on the app share, which for us was a huge benefit when all the other big players that demoed couldn't. They said they could do it, but they couldn't show us they could do it. And for me, that was, a very important factor.
And how do you just a point on that? How do you manage a customer expectation with regards to waste and recycling? Is there how do you manage that?
Pre-Netcall, not very well is what I would say, because someone would tell us that their bin was missed, and we would turn up to hopefully collect it within the timeline that we'd set. Now we completely track it from start to finish and keep the customer posted either with text or emails, to the extent where when the guys pick up the missed bin, they put on the phone or tablet that they've got to say the bin's been completed, and at that exact moment in time an email or text is fired off to the customer to say it's done.
Excellent. So that's a great way of managing. You're sort of mirroring what the waste and recycling people see. You're providing that sort of that facility, that sort of if someone's getting a message to go out and carry out a job, you're making sure almost immediately the customer's being informed of that.
Yeah, and we're trying to make it so the customer, especially at busy times, we find that someone will ring, they might not be able to get through, so then they'll send an email or send their counsellor an email to say I can't get through, or my bin hasn't been picked up, and it's just duplicate effort. And that what was happening pre-Netcall. Now we're finding that we're not getting people chasing updates on what's happening with my missed bin because we're telling them throughout. It's a bit like you rarely have to ring your likes of Amazon because they keep you posted the whole process of from ordering to delivering, and it's only if something goes wrong you need to contact them. So generally that's how it works for us as well, with missed bins, street cleansing and trade missed bins at the moment.
Excellent. So what about the impact on the culture? And I guess I'm talking, we can look at two parts of this question. Let's talk about the culture with regards to the people, the operatives within waste and recycling. Because obviously sometimes when you implement a technology, there's either we've always done it this way, or people think that potentially their jobs are going to be diminished or even disappear. How is it received? How is that managed? What does it look like now?
Yeah. Okay. So what we did to get their buy-in from the start with the approach we took with Netcall was like a mentoring and support approach. So we had somebody from Netcall come with us to the depot. I was there. My colleague who's also done the 3-day builder training was there, and somebody from Netcall. And we sat down with the team. We mapped out the process with them. We got them to sign off that process when we'd mapped it out to say, yes, we're happy. That's what happens in that scenario. And then when the test system was available, we showed them the process. So we've engaged with them throughout. And what used to happen, this is probably my best example, is in the old world, someone would have to physically close down each of the jobs on our old CRM. And that's one person that does that. And when he went on holiday for a week or two, he'd come back to a pile of paper saying, or a pile to say, here's 50 jobs he needs to close down. And, you know, if you're going on holiday, you don't want to come back to a pile of paper, knowing you're going to come back to a pile of paperwork. So instantly, as soon as we went live with this back at the end of September, he doesn't have to do that anymore. And it's now at the stage where previously it was me chasing them to get information and to try and get this moving. Now they're chasing me saying, well, when are we going to be putting in the rest of the processes? Because he was actually on holiday last week, and he said, I've come back to loads of paperwork for the other processes that we haven't implemented yet. And he goes, I can see how much time this is going to save me. So when can we have it? And I'm like, okay, we're going to do them one by one, test them, make sure they work. So yeah, the culture is, they're on board. And they're also saying, can we have more mobile devices for other processes to make sure we can deal with the issue when we're there? So for fly tipping, the guys are going to have an iPad. They're going to be able to take a picture when they're there. That will send off an email to our environmental health department. They'll be able to go out, or from the picture, if they can see the evidence is or isn't sufficient, they can make a decision, okay, clear it or don't clear it. So it will really speed things up. It saves people going into the office for abandoned vehicles. Someone at the moment has to go in, pick up a load of paperwork. It's all going to be done electronically now, with automatic reminders built in to add notices to cars and things like that. So yeah, the culture has changed. We've gone from a very paper-based system to a more agile electronic way of working, and yeah, they've gone from being wary and maybe not so on board to super keen and want to implement it ASAP.
Brilliant, excellent, and that's excellent. They want to do it, and I guess that sort of culture change stroke adoption. And this leads me to my next question is, you know, how has this affected the culture, the transformation, the want, the need to transform? How has that affected the whole organisation? Are other people seeing this happen and they want some of it?
Yeah. So we're already looking at implementing, at the moment, we've got a 3-stage complaint process. Stage 1 is dealt with by an old electronic forms package. Stage 2 and stage 3 is dealt with by spreadsheets. So there's a disconnect there. So I've been asked to put our complaints process into low code, and I've also been asked to put our freedom of information requests into low code. So to accelerate that to happen, I've actually been in contact with other low-code users that have already implemented complaints and FOI, and they've been kind enough to share their process with Netcall and us. In the same way, we are happy to share all the processes that we are building and have built with the community on the app share, because for me, that's the beauty of going with this solution. Is a complaint is a complaint, whether it's in Hertsmere or whether it's in Scotland, or, you know, it doesn't matter where it is. The process will be very similar, and an FOI is a fairly standard thing across all the councils. Who deals with it and how you deal with it may vary slightly, but that's the beauty of being able to share a process. We've been in contact with South Hams Council, and I've looked at their processes and they're not dissimilar to ours. So even if it gives us 80% of what we need, we've only got to tweak the 20%. It's not like we're starting from a blank sheet of paper. So yeah, already I'm getting asked to look at complaints, FOI, also to get rid of our e-forms package and put all our forms through Netcall, because what currently happens is all the e-forms on our website just send an email and don't do anything else, which is low value. It's not doing very much. It means someone else has to rekey it or do something. So we're looking at later on this year discontinuing with that, or not continuing with our e-form supplier, and between now and then building all the new forms in Netcall and actually get them to do a bit more, like maybe populate another system. I've been looking at the RPA module that's recently become available. So yeah, and I suspect it's not going to stop there.
Excellent. Excellent. So that was my final question. I'm sure we will have more questions in the open screen Q&A. So thanks very much for that, Lee. And I think now we're going to actually, Simon Pike from Netcall is going to provide us with a little video demo of the bulky waste app that you've been using. Simon, can you join us, please?
Good morning, Nick. So we're just going to walk you through the bulky waste application that's been developed in conjunction with Hertsmere. It is running from a test system, so it doesn't look exactly the way that the one for Hertsmere does look, because obviously it's being branded for their own purposes. But the concept is the same. Right, so we start off in a customer portal, and within the portal you have two options. You can either be an anonymous or an authenticated user. In this case, we're logged in, so we'll go and raise a new service request of type bulky waste. And we give them some information up front, just some basic details. And then the next stage is to give them the option of whether they want their bulky uplift item collecting from the same address as the person who's logged in, or they can choose to have it collected from an alternative address, so they could be raising it on behalf of somebody else. And you can search for a postcode, or you can drill down and enter the postcode, the address manually, or indeed just a location description. For the purposes of what we're doing, we'll go through on the same address. And we have a bit of booking functionality in here, which breaks down the items that you may want to collect. And all of this, of course, is configurable. So you pick two items in this case. So we've picked a general item of a 3-piece suite and an electrical item of a fridge freezer. Those service types determine the routes that go for the collection, and therefore the dates for those routes as well. So they're unique to the service type area. So here we can see two, and the user can go in and select the available dates that there are. In this case, general items don't collect every day. So anything that is underlined in green, they can go and select from one of those dates, and it tells them the start, the slot type. So it could be a whole day, it could be a half day, it could be a designated period of time, one till kind of 3 o'clock if you wanted. And as we say, you can do that per item, where it's based on a different route. So if you picked a 3-piece suite and a single armchair, then that would be one route. But because we've got an electrical item as well, you can go and pick the different dates. And on this occasion, you can see that electrical items can be collected every day. And again, all of that is completely configurable. So you pick those. It tells you that one of the items counts as 3 items, so we can add notes to each specific item that can be collected as well. And then in a second, we'll progress on to the next page. You can specify whether you want to receive reminders and alerts. So notifications a day before the collection, so that you're reminded to put the information out. And then there is some privacy information as well that can be put onto the screen. Then it gives you a confirmation of how much you're going to pay. So you make the payment. In this case, it integrates to gov.pay, but it could integrate off to something like Capita 360 or Civica Icon, for example. And we can enter the card number. In this case, we've pre-populated some of the information because of the integration, because we know who the logged in person was. It tells you the confirmation of the amount, and you continue. You get a summary of that, and that comes back as a success. And then the user just completes their request. And it gives them a case reference number. Now that case reference number can then be seen within their own portal login if you want. But here we jumped across to the agent view. So this is working on the principle that the customer has raised a request and then wants to ring up to make a change to it, so they can access their case as an agent. They get access as the agent to the same information, so the information that was submitted on the bulky uplift, and they can go in on behalf of the customer, a resident, and they can make a change to the date of the booking if they want. You'll see it's using exactly the same booking functionality, laid out in exactly the same way for consistency. On this occasion, we're going to leave those two as they are, and we'll switch across to the collection officer's interface, which again, as Leah said, is accessed on a tablet. They get a list of jobs for their route, and they can go and do an update on that collection. And they have an option there as to whether or not the item could be collected or not. So I'll come up in just a second. So they update their collection. In this case, we're going to say that they couldn't collect it. So we'll click on the no, and then they can give a reason for that. And again, those reasons can be configurable, and that could then spin off a rebooking for the customer if they wanted to. So they're getting emails to confirm that, as Lee's already said. And the second one, we're going to say that we were able to collect that through from the system and submit that. And that completes that user's journey, that record's journey through the system. Now, we talked a little bit about the booking functionality that we have available, which is the real power behind this. So these are set up as a scheduled service within the framework. And you can see here we've got 2 scheduled service groups set up, one for bulky waste and one for pest control. And they both operate in a subtly different way. So we'll have a look at bulky waste first. You can see there that you've got all of your routes are defined. So you've got north and south for each type, so electrical and for waste general. So they're broken down, as I say, by north and south. And those are configured here in the service routes. So you specify a north and south, then you specify your service type, and that then creates the services that are relevant for those collection routes. And in there you can see things like booking notice days. So how many days in advance do they need to have on there to set the booking? So in this case, for a bulky waste on the north, they can't make a booking within 3 days of the collection date. So it will always set the bookings to be 3 days ahead. You can add a new one into there. So you can specify here. This is where we say whether it's any time of day, whether it's specific days of the week, or whether it's just the weekdays. And it would pick up all 7, Monday in this case, AM and PM, whole day, or a specific time period to be able to set something like 1 till 3 PM. Give it a description. You can set the start times, a maximum number of slots, because a collection vehicle will only allow a certain number of items. And if you were using booking functionality for something else like a meeting room, then you could set a duration on there as well. We have on here, as I say, the recurring ability as well. So this is to allow it to forecast ahead, in this case, within 40 days, and show the number of slots. Again, that could be configured down to 10 days, 20 days, depending upon what you wanted. The booking can be restricted based on bank holidays, so you can add those into the system as well. And if you wanted to, then you could specify your routes based on things like postcodes, so that it knew the route that was available based on the postcode of the person making the request. So you would just group those into here, and it would use that to work out the routes as well. We'll go and have a look at a slightly different one in a second. We'll have a look at pest control, because that has some nice little additional features to it. So in here we've got pest control. You can see there that we've got Mondays through to Friday, and we can set some bespoke rules to that. So we can go into our pest master, and in pest control, what you have to be able to do is to set recurring visits for certain pest items, so in this case rats. So you can specify that it requires 3 visits. You can specify the number of days between the visits, and again the notification days ahead of the time, and it will calculate all that for you. So if you make a booking, it will then set your follow-up meetings, and you can charge prices for that as well. And if a booking was to be rescheduled, then it would automatically calculate the next ones through as well.
Thanks very much, Simon. Wonderful. Thank you very much. So thank you, Lee. Thank you, Simon.